I think if you look over the 4 years of his presidency, the gold price is going to do very well. I think it's going to do very well because I see the only political way out of our economic dilemma is, as you suggest, increase the money supply to print. We can't fund the expenditures with tax. The bills for entitlement are coming due. Our society is becoming older, more beneficiaries, fewer workers. The only way out of this circumstance is to reduce the purchasing power of the dollar. Traditionally, that's been extremely good for gold. I think the principal reason why one owns gold is the inevitability of the decline in purchasing power of the U.S. currency, of the Canadian currency, of the euro, of the yen, of the renminbi.
Renowned natural resource investor Rick Rule offers key insights into the promising prospects for gold, particularly during periods of economic uncertainty. He foresees strong momentum for gold, expecting price increases driven by shifts in monetary policies and ongoing financial challenges. Rick emphasizes that one of the main reasons to invest in gold is the anticipated decline in the U.S. dollar's purchasing power. This perspective aligns with historical trends where gold has consistently acted as a dependable store of value during volatile times. Currently, market trends reflect these dynamics, with gold prices nearing crucial thresholds. Recent trading has seen U.S. gold futures hovering around $2,732, influenced by a mix of geopolitical and economic factors. The value of gold is increasingly tied to the complexities of monetary policy, international trade, and global economic shifts. Throughout history, gold has evolved as a fundamental asset, transitioning from physical coins to being a cornerstone of paper currencies backed by gold standards. Today, in a fiat monetary system, gold holds heightened significance as a protective investment. With ongoing inflation and a weakening dollar, gold continues to attract investors looking for stability and security. Rick Rule highlights a critical truth. While commercial banking systems often fail to prioritize customers' interests, gold emerges as a strategic and reliable investment. Analysts at Goldman Sachs predict that inflationary pressures could significantly boost gold demand. As import costs and consumer prices rise, more investors may turn to gold as a safeguard. Its role as a traditional inflation hedge is becoming increasingly appealing in the current economic climate.
I think if you look over the 4 years of his presidency, the gold price is going to do very well. I think it's going to do very well because I see the only political way out of our economic dilemma is, as you suggest, increase the money supply to print. We can't fund the expenditures with tax. The bills for entitlement are coming due. Our society is becoming older, more beneficiaries, fewer workers. The only way out of this circumstance is to reduce the purchasing power of the dollar. Traditionally, that's been extremely good for gold. I think that the underlying strength of the U.S. economy isn't Trump. It's the strength of the American commercial culture. The fact that the United States, despite all its difficulties, still invests $25,000 in capital expenditures per U.S. worker every year, about double the global average. Our culture also traditionally has been, like Canada's, very, very welcoming of immigrants. And it's also been a culture where 5 or 6 young kids could take over a garage in Sunnyvale and out pops Google or out pops Apple. I mean, the ugly truth about America's culture, or maybe the great truth, depending on your point of view, is that our individual persistence, our individual tenacity has funded our collective stupidity. The problem with that is that politics is trying to dumb down that individual initiative while increasing the collective stupidity. I also agree that most very large commercial banks don't have the interests of the customers in mind. Whether or not that's good or bad for gold is a different circumstance. We could have a long discussion about banking. As you know, I'm a career banker. I think the principal reason why one owns gold is the inevitability of the decline in purchasing power of the U.S. currency, of the Canadian currency, of the euro, of the yen, of the renminbi. Ask your listeners to think back to the year 2020 and then fast forward to 2025. Think what's happened to the price of their groceries. If they're American, think what's happened to their health insurance or their health care costs. Think what's happened to rent or mortgages or groceries. These are all political issues. The idea that the basket of goods and services that you consume to run the Lin family has only gone up by 2.5 or 2.6% a year compounded in the period 2020 to 2025 is farcical. And yet people look at this index as though it were real. This is just common sense. In the United States, there's a huge incentive to have the CPI understate inflation. That is that all of the entitlements, which we can't afford, are geared to the CPI. The CPI cost of living increase for Social Security, as an example, is set to the CPI, 2.6%, when in fact, the underlying depreciation of the purchasing power of the US dollar is probably more like 7.5% or 8%.
Okay.
And frankly, it's worse, not better, in Canada.
Drawing comparisons to the period between 1970 and 1980, Rule highlights how gold prices surged dramatically from $35 to $850 an ounce, while the dollar's purchasing power declined by 75%. During this time, excessive government spending rather than insufficient revenue generation was the root issue. The average annual inflation rate was 3.88% between 1970 and 1980, resulting in a 73.41% increase in cumulative prices. Although inflation rates moderated somewhat in subsequent decades, the cumulative impact remains significant. For decades, gold has served as a reliable hedge against inflation and currency devaluation. As fiat currencies lose purchasing power over time due to inflation, gold remains a tangible asset that preserves wealth. Its ability to perform well during periods of dollar depreciation highlights its value as a stable store of wealth, especially in times of financial uncertainty. Do you believe gold is still the best hedge against inflation in today's economy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you found this video valuable, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more insights. Thank you for watching.